Hi, my name is Caitlin Dudas, co-founder and executive director of the Pet Sustainability Coalition. We are honored to speak today at PetFood Forum as a leader in sustainable protein sourcing in the pet industry. Our mission is to advance business through environmental and social practices. Our vision is for a vibrant and collaborative pet industry that drives positive impact on the environments and communities where we do business. We were founded in 2013 by 8 founding member companies, and today we serve more than 150 brands, retailers, distributors, and suppliers. Our nonprofit organization accelerates the sustainable business movement in our industry in 2 primary ways. First, the foundation of our organization continues to be supporting each member company through their sustainability program, including measuring, improving, and celebrating their impact. However, as we reached about 80 member companies back in 2018, we recognized a new opportunity for our organization. As our members began to represent multiple stakeholder groups, we expanded our mission to leverage our unique position to drive collaborative solutions for our industry. For example, if you bring together suppliers and brands that have a conversation about packaging solutions, you can identify rapid solutions that actually drive industry improvement for all. Our membership benefits are available for review at petsustainability.org under the membership tab. But today we're going to talk about macro sustainability issues that are too large for a single company to solve on their own. When our group of volunteer advisory board came together in 2018, we prioritized 2 primary topics that the Pet Sustainability Coalition would bring our leadership, capacity, collaboration, and research toward. The first is protein sourcing. Why? In 2017, the University of California released research showing that dogs and cats consume about 25% of the animal-derived calories produced in the United States. As populations of both humans and pets increase, the pet industry has an opportunity to leverage its market power to support improved sustainability performance from farm to bag. Proteins are also the highest impact ingredient by volume, which we learned in early research with our members. More on this coming on the next slide. The second big sustainability issue that PSC is helping to address through our leadership is packaging. Why? Because there's an estimated to be more plastic in the ocean than fish by 2050, and 99% of pet food bag and treats, that's about 300 million pounds of plastic, is not currently recyclable. You'll have to catch us another time to learn more about our incredible packaging work, because today we're going to take a deeper dive into our sustainable protein work. So why as an organization are we starting with proteins? A project with one of our German-based members, Yosera, shown here, shows that proteins have the highest environmental impact compared to other ingredient categories. If you look at the graph on the right, it compares CO2 impact between animal proteins, plant ingredients, and vitamins and minerals. The green line represents their lamb and rice formula, while the orange line represents insect dog. You can see through this graphic that animal proteins, regardless of the type, are still the largest impact ingredient category. We've also narrowed our protein focus this year to start with chicken. Chicken is used in 80% of pet foods and therefore is the area of focus for us initially, though we will be expanding our work to include other proteins and alternative proteins like you see here, looking at insect. Now, the slide you just saw had a singular focus, environmental impact, and even more singular, carbon impact. And while environmental impact helped steer us toward a focus on proteins, we quickly found ourselves right in the middle of one of the most controversial and emotionally triggered conversations in our industry. Between companies defending their claims, advocacy groups pushing reform, consumers expressing concern from the lack of transparency and understandable terms, we soon found like we were in the middle of a boxing match where there were lots of stakeholders in the ring and everyone was waiting for each other to leave themselves unguarded so that they could pounce at just the right time. Issues around safety, health, byproducts, human grade, transparency, farm raised, humanely raised, AFCO labeling, recalls, eco-friendly alternatives, GMO free, and slavery have all made news headlines since we began our work in 2018. PSC's goal is to change the narrative, to move away from these lose-lose conversations where we pit one option against the other, and instead we shift the conversation backed by credible data around win-win solutions where ingredients aren't evaluated by a single metric, but instead by their contribution to a holistic, sustainable sourcing solution. To support the transition to a more holistic approach to sustainable sourcing, the Pet Sustainability Coalition is excited to share with you our 4-part framework that can be used to evaluate any protein type. The 4 areas included in our model are environmental impact, measuring important things like deforestation, greenhouse gas emissions, land use, water use; social impact, measuring human sustainability like safe working conditions, fair labor standards, and freedom from forced labor or slavery; nutrition, measures the sustainability of the nutrition provided, including nutritional composition, bioavailability, and digestibility; and animal welfare, measuring the humane standards of production, including health, prevention of pain and distress, and the promotion of comfort and natural behavior. Now, the environmental impact of an ingredient is an important factor that influences the sustainability of a formula because it directly influences whether or not that ingredient will be available in the finite planetary boundaries that restrict production. However, our moral boundaries also require that the treatment of the workforce, which is covered in the social impact section of our model, and the treatment of the animals, which is covered in the animal welfare section of our model, are important to our ability as an industry to meet the expectations from consumers who care deeply about animals of all kinds. And finally, a pet food is only sustainable if it promotes a balanced diet for pets. Those that do not sustain the population aren't sustainable by definition, and secondarily, those that provide poor nutrition will likely cause secondary environmental impacts related to veterinary assistance and/or supplements and medications if those are needed to address nutritional deficiency. The development of this holistic framework for protein sustainability is just the first step in our roadmap toward systemic change. This framework serves as a definition for our industry. We have now moved into the evaluation phase of our roadmap. How are the commonly used proteins being used in our industry today, and how do they perform in all of the 4 key factors of our model? And what are the barriers to the availability of these highly performing proteins? We're currently partnering with 4 content experts to bring science-based research to our evaluation phase, and we have 4 key resources planned for release this year. Our partners include Iowa State University, who completed an environmental evaluation of common protein types; Kronos, who brings animal welfare expertise; the University of Guelph, who is completing our nutritional evaluation; and Sterling Consulting, who is our longtime supply chain partner since we were founded back in 2013. The planned resources for this year include From Farm to Fido, an illustrated ingredient flow map for the pet industry; the Sustainable Protein Collaborative, a multi-stakeholder working group; the first U.S. chicken supplier and processor supply chain map; and finally, the holistic evaluation of common protein ingredients in all 4 impact areas outlined in our model. As a sneak peek of our work, I'm going to move quickly through 4 slides that outline the major players, the standards, and the limitations in each of our 4 factors. Starting with environmental impact. Standards related to the environmental impact of ingredients include the USDA organic certification, non-GMO verification, and the EPA ECO initiative. You'll have access to all of these slides so you can read the details of each certification on your own, but each slide, we also want to show you a dial of how available information is in each area. Information accessibility influences the ability of pet food brands and formulators to be able to make real decisions about the proteins they use. Accessing information on the environmental impact of protein ingredients is moderately accessible. If companies are willing to complete costly life cycle analysis, and there are databases that have comparative environmental impact information available to them. However, environmental impact spans beyond organic, non-GMO, and EPA ECO program. They aren't entirely holistic, and therefore it takes a fair amount of work to really be able to compare ingredients when it comes to environmental impact. Social impact. Standards include USDA process verified, and you can use websites like Good Jobs first to track fines or other issues, and Indeed tracks employee reviews. However, there doesn't seem to be high use of standards used in other industries like the ISO standard. Most social performance of ingredients is tracked through fines and infringements, and the general impact of ingredients is not very well documented. However, because we're in the US, we comply with generally high standards for social and labor, though there are standards and stories every year about forced labor, low pay, no benefits, right here on US soil. Overall, information on social impact of ingredients is slightly lower than environmental impact, as compliance with US labor standards is generally assumed. Nutrition. Major players and standards include AFCO, EWG, and the Pet Food Institute. While there is a standardizing body that defines nutritional standards for pet food ingredients, there's little agreement in the pet food community about what constitutes proper nutrition or a standard methodology for nutritional evaluation. On top of that, most nutritional data is proprietary to the brand that conducted the research, and so little is available in the public domain. PSC is adopting a methodology that includes bioavailability and digestibility in addition to raw nutritional composition. And because there's very little publicly available information, we're working with the University of Guelph, a leading veterinary institute, to provide a scientific analysis of common protein types used in pet food. And finally, animal welfare. The major players and standards include Animal Welfare Certified, Animal Welfare Institute, Animal Humane Certified, and the Process Verified program. And that's just here in the US. There's a whole handful of additional ones when you're looking internationally. And while there's growing demand for standards, and therefore an increase in the number of standards in the US, there's a lot of variation among the standards, and not very many pet food ingredient suppliers are using them or reporting their information. Therefore, information accessibility is very low. Seen holistically, it is clear that being able to evaluate a protein according to its environmental, social, nutritional, and animal welfare performance is very difficult, and that this is an issue that will require expertise from our partners and long-term consistent leadership to start moving the dial. So we've come to the conclusion of today's session. I want to wrap up with one thought. How a company chooses to prioritize these 4 factors is up to them. Some brands may choose to focus on animal welfare, while others may prioritize environmental impact. Different ingredients will perform differently in each of these 4 factors, and each brand will have the flexibility to be able to prioritize ingredients that drive sustainability in alignment with their values, while also ensuring health and nutrition for pets. If you have further questions or comments, you can reach out to me at cbolton@petsustainability.org. And to support our work or join the 150 other companies integrating sustainable practices into their business, visit www.petsustainability.org.